We've all wondered what happens after death, and there are many among us who believe in reincarnation. There are even studies that say children are much more likely to remember their past lives because, as adults, we dismiss a lot of things as coincidences, and the logical part of our brain is dominant. Today we present to you the top 10 kids that actually remember their past lives. Number 1 is Lieutenant James. James was just 2 years old in 2000 when he pointed to a picture of Iwo Jima in the Pacific and said that's where his plane was shot down. James' parents started looking into it and soon found out that there was only one plane that was ever shot down there, and this was the one of American pilot Lieutenant James Hudson, Jr. The lieutenant was killed by the Japanese in 1945 before the end of World War II. James even knew that the other James's ship name was Natoma, and even had nightmares where he would mumble things like, "on fire," "little man can't get out," and "airplane crash." His parents already believed that their son was remembering a past life, but got absolutely certain after they met with some of the now old men that used to be in the lieutenant's crew, who absolutely confirmed all the details that James was giving them throughout the years. Number 2 is the Incarnated Twins. Thanks to Kubrick's masterpiece, The Shining, we all have more or less a fear of twin little girls. Well, after this, prepare to have even more. The two sisters of the twins were killed a year before the twins were born in a car accident. Their names were Jacqueline and Joanna, and they were 6 and 11 years old. The twins were named Gillian and Jennifer. Jennifer had a white line across her head, very similar to Jacqueline's scar from a bike accident, and also had an incidental birthmark on her leg. The family moved away from the town and only returned after 4 years. Even though the twins didn't know anything about the town they had just moved in, they started pointing out landmarks that they'd never seen before and even said it was the school their two dead sisters attended, and it was actually their school. When the parents showed the twins toys of their sisters, they named each one correctly. They even had a fear of cars. After the age of 5, the twins stopped remembering. Number 3 is the World War I soldier. A 4-year-old boy had his parents baffled as to why he was so scared of damp and drizzly days. One day he pointed at the growth in his throat and told his parents this is where he was shot. Finally, after some time, he admitted to his mother who he was in his past life, a soldier who died in World War I. He even knew that his name was James, that he was 18 years old, and knew exactly how his death happened. He was walking through the mud in France on a rainy day. He could barely see what was happening on the battlefield. And suddenly, he heard a shot come from behind him. And even though the shot hit someone else first, it hit him on the back of his head, and then he felt his throat filling with blood. And that was as far as he could remember. Number 4 is the Druze boy. The Druze religion features reincarnation as a fundamental tenet. And in Israel, the Druze live primarily in the Golan Heights section, which is where the little boy we're going to tell you the story of was born. The Druze boy said to his parents he remembered his past life and that he was killed with an axe blow to the head. He had a red birthmark in that spot. A doctor who was interested in his case took the boy to a village that he thought was the village of the boy's past life, and then the amazing happened. The boy walked up to a guy and said, "I used to be your neighbor." The boy was then 3 years old, and the man he used to be was lost for the past 4 years. When the neighbor heard the accusations, his face went white. The boy even said that he knew where the man buried his body, so they went there and discovered the skeleton of a man with a linear split in the skull, which could have been made with an axe. The boy even knew where the axe was buried, and he led them there, at which point the neighbor admitted his crime. Number 5 is Bua Kai. A 3-year-old boy from Thailand insisted that in his previous life he was a teacher that was named Bua Kai, and he was shot in the head on his way to school. The boy could name his previous parents, but also his wife and children, and begged his current family to let him visit his previous one. He even had 2 birthmarks, one on the back of his head and another one above his left eye. When his grandmother finally let him take her to his previous village, the parents of Bua Kai said that their son was murdered 5 years before the boy was born. They started asking the boy about Buakai, and the boy answered everything correctly. The family invited the boy again and again to their house, and later was found out the birthmarks on the boy's head were very similar as to the ones the dead Buakai suffered as wounds from being shot in the head. Number 6 is the Hollywood agent. When this boy from the Midwest started telling his parents about his past life as a movie extra who later became a Hollywood agent, they laughed it off. He even pointed to himself in a picture and said it was him and that his name was Marty Martin, and he traveled the world, danced on Broadway, and even had a big house with a pool. Eventually, the parents started researching about Marty Martin, and they found out everything the son told them was true. Number 7 was the Pizza Master. A 2-year-old boy surprised his sister and parents when randomly one day he started describing exactly how to make a pizza. The family was confused because they never made pizza in the house, so the boy couldn't possibly know all the details of how to exactly keep the fire going using a brick oven, or how you have to allow the dough to rise. When they asked him how did he know all that, the boy said simply he learned it from his old family, his mama and papa, which incidentally this was not what the siblings called their parents, before he died and came to live with them. Number 8, Bobby Jones. A 3-year-old boy claimed he was the reincarnation of Bobby Jones, the legendary golfer. He first pointed to a picture of him and said, "That's me," and then went on to point to a picture of Bobby Jones' childhood home and said it was his house. All of this could have been ignored if it wasn't for the boy's insane skills at golf. By the age of 7, he had won 21 junior golf tournaments in a row and an amazing 41 out of 50 in total. Number 9 is the boy from Barra. When he was 2 years old, a boy from Glasgow started telling his parents how much he missed his life on Barra, which is a remote island off the coast of Scotland. The boy had never visited the island before and probably had never even heard about it. He was talking about his life there, his friends, his family, and he even knew their names. He also said he was killed by a car. His parents finally decided to take him there, and a documentary crew joined them. Everyone was stunned at how many details the boy got right, from his dog's breed to the view from his window. Number 10, the boy who was his own grandfather. Now, this story is both confusing and incredibly creepy. A boy was 18 months old when he said to his dad, "When I was your age, I changed your diaper." He was speaking in full sentences at this young age, and also knew things that he couldn't and shouldn't have known about his late grandfather, who died before he was born. He even knew about the sister of his grandfather who was murdered, and kept saying he had a sister who was turned into a fish. The parents of the boy never told him that his grandfather had a sister, much less that the sister was murdered and found in the San Francisco Bay. Well, there you have it. That's the top 10 kids who remember their past lives. Do you know of anyone who you think should be included in this list? Let us know down below in the comments.